introduction for our wonderful guest today, Miss Maria Briggs,
Hello.
who, after her time at Lundstrum nearly 10 years ago, has gone on to have a very successful career being cast in numerous shows on Broadway in New York City. So, Maria, thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course.
Yeah.
More than
So,
happy to be here.
what are you currently up to right now?
So right now I'm in Mean Girls on Broadway. I'm a swing over there, and so I cover 8 different tracks.
Awesome.
Keep it busy.
Yeah, very busy. How long have you been in the show?
Since the end of March.
Okay.
So my first week of rehearsal was my last week of Anastasia. So I had a week of double duty over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how are you enjoying the show so far?
I love it. It's been really fun. It's been really energetic, which is really great, and it's funny.
Awesome. So
it's our
before,
first contemporary show too, so that's been a really interesting process as well, like adapting to the different style of singing and dancing, and so yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been great.
very cool. So you mentioned that you did Anastasia before
Yes.
this. What other shows have you been in?
On Broadway, so Mean Girls is actually my 5th Broadway show. I still can't
Wow,
believe it.
amazing.
So Cats was my debut. And when did I join that? That was October 2016. I was the swing there as well. And then there was actually a time where I took over Victoria, the white cat. And then I went back to swinging again. And then that closed December 2017. After that, I went into Frozen. I was a swing over there as well. That process was also quite interesting. I had an audition, or I got the appointment on the weekend, and of course had to learn like a song, multiple sides, and had the audition. We danced for quite a few hours. Then we sang, did a few of my songs, and then did their song. And that night, I found out I was starting rehearsals the next day. So, and also with that process, they had opened 2 weeks before I started, and somebody was on a medical leave, and so it was pretty rushed. So I had 8 days to learn 10 different tracks. So that was quick. And then I ended up debuting 5 of them within a month. With that, or right after that, I went into Hello Dolly. When I joined that cast, it was with Bernadette Peters and Victor Garber.
All right.
Amazing.
Love Bernadette.
And then I was also fortunate enough too that Bette Midler and David Hyde Pierce were coming back as well. So I actually got to work with both of them, which was really amazing. And then the other really special part about that, at the end of Dolly, I went back into Frozen to cover some vacations. And my parents were in town to come see Hello Dolly. And so that Saturday, they saw the show, and that was with Bernadette and David Hyde Pierce. And then that Tuesday, they got to see me in Frozen, which was pretty unheard of. And then after Frozen, that's when I joined Anastasia. I was there for like 6 months, I believe, around that time, and then went right into Mean Girls. So busy.
So you mentioned that you were a swing in a number of the shows. What makes a dancer a good swing? What skills do you think are necessary?
Yeah. I think a really important skill is just trying to learn as quickly as possible. So picking up choreography fast is a really important skill. And then also organization, because a lot of them do similar things or not. So like with Cats, it was basically, I covered 6 different Cats, and that has hardly any unison moments. So it was kind of knowing 6 different shows.
Wow.
And that's the thing, each show kind of requires different skills. So when it came to Frozen, there were a lot of similar moments. And so that was a lot of like learning different numbers of like, oh, I'm standing on 6 and then I'm going to be on 10. And then so that kind of felt more mathematical. And then right now at Mean Girls, that has kind of a different process too. Each number kind of feels different, where like the opening Roars is very kind of chaotic and a lot of different traffic. But then where do you belong happens, and that kind of feels more mathematical. So it kind of has like both worlds happening in it.
Absolutely. So when it comes to learning a lot of material really quickly, do you have a kind of a method for that, or a way that you like to approach doing that?
Yes, I'm definitely a homework person. In the rehearsal, it's like, okay, great, like let's just keep getting more info. And then I like to go home, and then that's where like the real work starts for me. And because I feel like if it's not in my brain, then I don't know it. Where I know sometimes the shows you get like videos or you have your notes and you have time to kind of look over it. But I like to just have all the info in my head. So at home, I like to go home and then write out the choreography to see how much I've retained. And then I kind of go back and then see like where the parts are missing from there.
And you know, after you've gone through that initial process of kind of learning the material throughout the show, do you continue to brush up on all the characters, or do you feel solid at some point?
Yeah. So with Mean Girls, I actually debuted 5 of them within 2.5 weeks. So that was really busy.
You're making me feel really lazy.
Okay, you're like an amazing genius. That's all I'm gonna say.
I've been very lucky. So with that, it was actually kind of hard to separate them all, because they all just happened so quickly, where it was like, okay, review right before the show and then do it. And then the next day was like, okay, you're somebody new. Okay, review really quick, do the show. So it was kind of hard to separate who was who for a while. Oh, and the other thing is with cats, you dressed as the cat. So if you had a moment, you could literally like look down at yourself and you're like, who am I? But with Frozen and Mean Girls, you get your own costume. So you could be in this track and wear the same thing, and then you'll be in this track and wear the same exact outfit. So for myself, it's also like, oh yeah, just because I'm not wearing, or I'm wearing the same thing, it kind of gets a little tricky with separating. So with those 2.5 weeks, it was like, great, we did it. Now I need to like go back and do homework again. But I didn't have a lot of time off stage. This is actually kind of my first week that I've had time off. So I've been going back and getting kind of like the big picture again. I've been watching the show every day to kind of, because I've been getting like individual work, but now I need like whole picture in case I'm thrown on last minute. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know they're going over here, kind of get the full visual.
Right. So as a swing, how much time in advance do you have before you have to go on stage as a particular role?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Usually they try to give you as much notice as they possibly can. Sometimes I know about like a week ahead. That's kind of like the general amount of time. But then there are mornings where it's like, oh, you're on today, and it might be a 2-show day, and you're like, oh, well then I need to leave my apartment now to get ready. Because I usually like to get there an hour before the show. But then if I'm not on, I can show up at half hour to show. So there's that. But then there are times where people get injured during the show or they get sick, and so you have to go on in the middle of it. So it kind of can happen at any time.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're obviously very busy. You're keeping a lot of information in your head at once. What kind of things do you like to do to kind of relax or recoup?
Ooh, gosh, what does that mean? No.
Yeah. When's the last time I relaxed?
It's so silly, but there are times where I'm like, okay, I just need to sit on the couch and just like watch Netflix at times.
Yeah.
But like this morning, I actually took the morning to like roll out and get my body back in shape. Because with this particular show, it's so sharp and hard that I need to like find lengthening and stretching. But so that's one thing. I actually do really like to do yoga. That's like one thing to kind of help like get back for myself personally. And then I love game night. That's another thing. We'll have our friends over and we'll play games and like kind of do that. And even just like going for walks is another nice thing I like to do. Mostly like catch up with friends. I feel like my downtime is spent with trying to catch up with friends and family.
Yeah. What is your game of choice?
I think I really like code names right now.
Yes.
That's a
Code
good
names
name.
is
That's
great.
a good game.
I love code names. Have you ever heard of a game called Pandemic?
Pandemic? No.
You might want to check it out. It's very
I'm
cool.
writing that down right
It's
now.
like an interactive, everyone's on the same team kind of game. It's really fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we just played this one called Forbidden Island, and it is like a team game where it's like the island's sinking, but you have to keep
Right.
it afloat.
Yeah, it's a totally different. It's very similar to that. Yeah.
Okay. But then I will say, this is one thing I miss about Minnesota is everybody knows how to play cards.
Yes.
People don't know how to play cards here, so there'll be like nights where my boyfriend and I just play cribbage here and there.
Cribbage. Yeah.
Not a lot of other people know how to play.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So kind of switching gears a little bit. How did you become involved with Lundstrum way back in the day?
Yeah. So I went to St. Paul's Conservatory for the Performing Artists. And that's where I met Carrie Casterly. She was the musical theater dance teacher. And so she had introduced me. Actually, she basically introduced me to this musical theater world because I just grew up dancing my entire life. But she taught like this Bob Fosse class, and I was like, oh, I like this. I think this is the world I want to go into.
Awesome.
So that's how she introduced me to Lundstrum. And gosh, Amy, do you remember the location? It was still northeast, but
we were
it was a couple blocks down.
On North. Yeah, we were in a loft up on North 2nd Street. Yeah, yes. North Wind Lofts.
Yes, so that's
you were there then.
I was, yes. So that's where I knew Lundstrum to be.
Wow.
So we were over there, and that actually kind of goes into that other question about like one memory that you have of it. And I just remember going to the loft, and we'd be in the little corner between the pole, like the two support beams, and it'd be like, this is our stage. We're gonna it's kind of amazing that like we make do with what we had, and
exactly
so we're able to put on like an amazing show. And I think we were working on a Christmas show for somebody's party, and I remember I had to be like a music box dancer or something like that.
Right.
And,
we did fractured fairy tales for a client. Yep.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think that was like one of my first memories of Lundstrum. And then, but that was also cool too, because then I actually got to see the studio like build into what it is now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
The amount of support that you guys have.
Yeah.
It's so lovely.
It has grown immensely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, given your career, you've probably had the opportunity to see a lot of schools that do musical theater. Do you have anything that you think is kind of unique about Lundstrum from the experiences that you've had elsewhere?
Yeah. I honestly think it's like the diversity that you have, one as a community, but then also what the school provides in all sorts of classes as well. Because usually when I go to studios, it's like, oh, they're just a dance studio, or I've worked a lot with like Girl Scouts too, so that's been kind of neat to introduce them to it. Or they're just like strictly actors, or they kind of just fall into one of the disciplines, where Lundstrum provides all of it, which is unheard of.
Right. Very cool. So during the time that you had at Lundstrum, were there any school skills that you picked up that you found valuable currently in your career?
I mean, it's hard to say because it was kind of everything, because I didn't know much about musical theater at all. So that was really my introduction into like, okay, now you have to open your mouth and sing and you have to talk. So it was really just like even just like, how do you say your name?
Right.
So it really taught me like all of the basics of what I needed to go into musical theater.
That's amazing. So it kind of helped you build a foundation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
So as Amy mentioned a little earlier, we're doing Legally Blonde Junior right now.
Yes.
Rehearsals are going very well, but would you have any advice for our current students as they put on this show?
Ooh, I feel this one I can't emphasize enough is that you need to be kind to every single person that you meet and that you work with. And that's not just like on stage, that goes with off stage, with your dressers, with your wigs, with your stage managers, with your crew. Every single person you need to be kind to. I always like to live by the golden rule, like treat others the way you want to be treated. And because it goes to a point too where I was in a show, we were in rehearsals, and the stage manager was talking to the dance captain, and they were looking for somebody new to come in, and they were literally ping-ponging back and forth about people, and I was like, what is happening? And finally they were like, we're looking for somebody new, and down to 3 people. I've talked to another stage manager, and they said absolutely not. And so it was just like, it's so important because people talk about others. And even before I announced that I got Mean Girls, I ran into a previous stage manager I'd worked with, and they were like, congratulations. I was like, about what? I already know because I've already talked to your stage manager. So it's really, really important. And also because you can't do it on your own. There's absolutely no way. It's such a group effort that to everybody. You can't get dressed on your own. You can't get your hair done on your own. You can't get your props moved on your own. And you can't even perform on your own. You need the whole entire cast and crew to do it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really amazing point. And I've heard that from a number of people that are successful in a variety of disciplines, that if you can really approach any interaction you have with anyone as a privilege.
Yes.
The world can seem so big sometimes, and especially in a place like New York, where it seems like, wow, this is such a big place, but I'm sure as you've experienced, it's really not.
It really isn't.
Everyone talks and everyone knows each other.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I've got one last question for you.
Yeah.
What would be your dream role?
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's, I keep getting asked this, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Partially because different skills keep developing, and also trying to figure out what story I want to be shared.
How about this first? What's your favorite musical? Do you have one?
I think that's between, oh gosh, I love West Side Story and A Chorus Line. I think those are 2 of my favorites.
Did you have a dream role for those? Have you already played one of your dream roles?
I did.
I can share that with you. Maybe that's why we have green hats on.
Yes. I did get to play Val, so that was really exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What was that like for you to walk into a role that you were very excited about?
It kind of felt like it really was like a dream coming true. And also just like, it was challenging because it's like, am I ready for that? Can I do that? And it's also like trusting yourself and having the confidence that, you were hired for a reason. So yeah.
That's a good point.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for
Maria.
spending some time with us today.
You're so beautiful. You have many more dream roles in your future.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I think actually one that I would like to play is Carrie, I think, in Carousel.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
That's what I would like to do.
Okay, here's to your dreams.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maria.
Of course.
All right, thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.